said you tired, probably just running around, going crazy all day.
Nah, I don't really too much leave my house, man. I'll be at the house a lot, but just had I don't sleep at night. I be working during the night. So like when I got something like this to do during the daytime or during like regular business hours, kind of throws me off.
Yeah, everything's just kind of off to the races from there. But no, I appreciate it big time. I know you got 1,000 people hitting you up, both, people, entities to do stuff like this, all the way to artists trying to work with you, to producers and loop makers trying to collab with you for 24 hours a day, damn near, I'm sure.
That's really what it be. I get my phone is flooded with loop makers. I mean,
yeah,
it's crazy, but I invite all of that stuff in, man. I don't never turn down no loops.
Exactly. I'll even I definitely send slide Chibu some every once in a while just to be like, what happens right here? Let's see what happens right here.
Yeah, man. And I probably use a couple too. I just usually when I produce on loops, I don't even like go back and I'll make sure I make a note of who produced what, but I usually don't go back and tell nobody nothing until I know we got a placement.
Yeah.
I don't want to get nobody hopes up.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best way to do it too, because I'll send beats off to whoever. Someone will ask me if I can send beats off to whoever I'm working with, and then it's just like, yo, any news with that? Any news? What's going on with this? What's going on with that? I'm like,
right.
I really don't know until it's coming out, just like you. But if I hear anything, I'll tell you. But that's the worst, just letting somebody down on accident when you were just trying to help.
Right. So that's why I made a new email, and even if it does get flooded, I'll probably end up just buying new storage for it and just letting them load me up, because like it's very rare that I just like skip over packs or whatever. And I think as producers, they got a better chance of getting placements. The way you label stuff really makes a difference. So like when people send me stuff as like a Google link or a Dropbox link, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna either listen to it right then on my phone, or I'm gonna add it to my Dropbox later so I can make sure I listen to it. But when they send me like 3 samples as an attachment to an email, I'm looking straight over that shit.
Yeah.
Because I don't get time to be sitting here trying to ask for access or making sure that this shit downloads as an entire folder versus just one file. Like, I ain't trying to do all that.
That's what I always tell everybody too. Give your input on this, because your input's much more valuable than mine. But I always say, like, if you got to click and download and do all this crazy stuff, I feel like it's probably going to get skipped. But also, I feel like a good way to start is just send however many like MP3s or like attachments to the email where you can just click and listen, and you don't have to like go to a new Dropbox or whatever, to at least start with. And then when they get familiar with you, you can kind of like bank on having credibility to where they'll like click and go more towards wherever after that.
Them folks will send me they'll send me the file as WAV files, but as an attachment, and I can't listen to it on through the Google app or whatever. So I gotta download it as one single file. And I'm like, oh, bro. Now it's just sitting on my iTunes page and shit. I feel like, if you send enough, wait till you have enough to send the entire pack instead of sending me 1 or 2 loops every single day.
Right.
And just just wait until you get the whole pack together. And I just feel like they don't want to miss an opportunity, so they always send constant and trying to make sure they're at the top of the list. And I get it, that's the game that we're in right now. But I'll be the first to tell you, really not missing shit. I'm not out here getting placements every single day. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if somebody is, then they're amazing. Kudos to them. But you ain't got to worry about me. Like, we gonna get it in. It's just shit takes time.
Nah, definitely. Well, I mean, there you have it. Some pretty good insider tips before we even get started from the GOAT himself. But like I said, we appreciate it big time. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. Appreciate you hopping on with us. I
was excited, man. I've been waiting to do something with you guys with producer culture and that whole producer movement, bro. Like, I don't do enough interviews. I feel like this is an opportunity for me, honestly. So I appreciate you.
Nah, hell yeah. I appreciate it big time. But like I said, my man came through looking fly with the Rude hat on. We appreciate it big time. The producer room, powered by producer culture. I think everyone already knows what's going on, but the big GOAT, Mr. Number 1, Super Mario in the building. What's going on, my guy?
What's up with it?
Shit, we've been waiting on this one. Everybody's been waiting on this one. We do a lot of you know, who should we do next? Who would you like to see? Ideally, if we could interview anybody, who would it be? And it's like Mario. We need to hear more about
bullshit, man. They don't be asking for me, man.
I swear, don't make me pull up the receipts because you know we'll do it. I swear.
No, that's good. That makes me feel great, man. I remember when I was that person that was commenting who I wanted to see on next. Yeah. You know, so to be in this position is a blessing, though. That's all I could say when it comes to that. I appreciate anybody that has listened to my music and likes my music.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you got a lot of them out there for sure. But yeah, I mean, let's kind of even take it back to that point when you were that person who was just hoping to figure out how you were going to make it happen, when you were that person who was commenting, you know, other producers whose stories you wanted to hear. Like, how did it really all get kicked off for you? Like, music wise, where are you from? Like, how did it all kind of start off for you as far as, you know, the initial point to getting here?
I mean, it started with just a passion for music in general. I was never really always, you know, I wasn't the concern type when it comes to like, am I gonna make it, or is this something that's gonna happen for me? I never really wanted to be like a producer, especially in the rap scene. I was never, that really wasn't my goal. I think more so I wanted to be a live drummer, but I always saw myself as a tour drummer or in a band somewhere. That was really my goal. And coming from like a small city like Columbia, South Carolina, it's like you kind of already have it mentally set up in your mind, like, this shit ain't going nowhere. I might as well go ahead and prepare to either move or get a job, you know. But for me, I'd say it's like that for a lot of people. A lot of people feel like they can't make it out of South Carolina. But me personally, I never had that kind of doubt. I always felt like if I really want to make it, I'll take the necessary steps to put myself in a position to make it. And that's exactly what I did. Like, I just always knew that I would have to rely on me to make shit happen, you know? And I think that's what got me here today. Not all of it is by my own hand. I had to like reach out to people. I had to talk to people. I got lucky enough to meet certain artists in my city who had connections to Atlanta, especially when Atlanta was in its prime as far as networking. I've always been a hustler, so I know what it means to network. You know, I know the importance of networking, and I think just being able to network can change a lot for you, and that's what happened for me.
Yeah,
I think that's my answer for that.
Yeah, that's a good answer for sure. That networking component is just so critical to being able to really do or accomplish anything. Why did you, and the reason I ask is because I have a feeling there's a lot of up and coming younger producers that feel the same way, and especially ones that are overseas that are just however many miles away from ever being in the studio with their favorite artist or whatever. Like, why did it kind of feel like you were just stuck based in the spot that you were at? Is it because there's like a lack of like the music scene there? I mean, what's the music scene like in your area where you're growing up?
Well, there is no music scene. I mean, we got clubs and we got stuff going on like sports wise and business, but for some reason the entertainment district is just not important to, I guess, city council and stuff like that. So we just never had a place to cultivate any kind of music scene, especially in Columbia. I don't know about other places like Greenville and stuff like that. They may be a little bit more upscale, but Columbia just was never focused on growing. Even when it comes to like other things outside of music, they never just seemed focused on growing. And I think at the time that I was entering into the music era of my life or whatever, it was still like, it was CDs and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, people were still burning CDs with beats on them and taking them to the studios and stuff. It's a weird feeling, like when you feel like you have talent and you know you're really good at what you do and you just have no outlets to get it out there. But I feel like I saw that cusp, that change between like CDs and the internet. And I saw the internet as an opportunity to really network. And I think a lot of even the guys overseas can tell you, like, the internet is the tool. And to this day, I try to check every DM. I try to check every email that I can, because I know how important it is to check those things, knowing that a lot of the talented people that you want to come across are overseas somewhere, you know. I don't want to miss opportunities, and I'm sure they don't want to miss opportunities. So I try to be an example of what's needed out here, especially for people like them, because I know what it feels like to come from a place that really doesn't have a music scene.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Like that, the internet piece is just so crazy, especially with social media. Like, I gotta look back sometimes and just be like, damn, like with the amount of like connections that I made just from forcing myself to be savvy on the internet, and even just so many different producers, watching them, how they've managed to get connected with yourself, biggest producers in the world like yourself. Like, it's just really, really interesting. And, you know, being resourceful on the internet can basically unlock any door for yourself at this point. It's pretty incredible, honestly.
That's facts. That's
Um,
facts. I do want to say this. I feel like if you're only using Instagram to connect to other people, then your chances are a little bit slim. Like, I was always against YouTube beats and stuff like that, and beat stars and stuff like that for a while. But even recently, like just a couple of weeks ago, I went on Twitter and was like, yo, should I go ahead and make a BeatStars account just so I could reach more independent artists? And I mean, the result was, yeah. Like,
for you, like, when did it become like this is what you're doing? Even if it wasn't like successful or you weren't making the money like that at the time, when was it like what you were doing for most of your day? When did like that kind of turning point kind of happen?
I like this question.
Yeah.
It was during a lunch. It was a lunch break in 10th grade when I skipped school to go like when I left school campus to go to my friend's house who lives around the corner, who introduced me to FL Studio. And I realized that bitch looked like a video game, and it was that easy. And I don't need all these keyboards and shit to do what I like doing. When I saw that, and then I found out you can make money off this shit, that's when I knew this is what I was doing for the rest of my life. Whether I was still incorporating myself as a musician, like a live musician, and just adding the production to it, I just knew this what it was, man. Like, I've been like that even as a kid. Like, I've been playing drums since I was 3 years old. I just always been my path.
At that point, all right, so we're at 10th grade now, basically.
Yeah.
FL Studio, kind of, you're enamored by it immediately, damn near.
Yeah, that was like, I ain't gonna lie, that was such a memorable day for me. Like, just finding out that shit even existed. I had never even heard of it. I didn't know too much about studio equipment and stuff. Like, my uncle used to have like this it's like a Pro Tools thing. It's some kind of hardware that Pro Tools made that generates sounds or whatever. So I started learning that, and his Triton stuff. So I started off on like keyboards and stuff. But FL just made more sense to me, like with the little blocks and like squares and patterns. Like, I was like, this is a lot easier. I think I'm gonna just go with this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it immediately was adaptive for me. It took me a while to get into it and learn it, but it is what it is.
Had it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting too. Like, were you, even back in those times, were you playing the drums thinking one day I'm going to be like somebody who's making a living off of music, or were you really just doing it because you were enjoying it? I mean, you're 3 years old, so it's probably just something you're enjoying, right?
Yeah, for sure. I was definitely enjoying it, but it was like, even at an early age, I always knew that this was like something that I would be doing forever. I'm never gonna lose the passion that I have for music. So, you know, it's tough having those conversations with people who are trying to get into music but don't really have the same passion for it like I do. You know,
Yeah,
gotta have a passion for this shit first.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting too. I was having a conversation with someone else. It's like you almost sort of training for it your whole life if you just know that it's what you want to do, even when you don't see like the end result to it. Like, you know, I always knew I was gonna make this like music industry type stuff. I was going to be in the music industry. I always knew I was going to make it work somehow. Never knew how, but I always knew I was going to. And then like, you know, my mom would always be like, "Oh, you know, Steve down the street, he's a banker. That seems like a pretty cool job. Why don't you?"
She's trying to make that shit seem cool, man.
Yeah. What comes first for you? Do you start making and saving a bunch of beats and showing them for people and then like collaborating with local artists in the space, or do you start sending stuff out? Like, how did your first either placement come about, or how did you first start actually having your beats on like songs that there was like an artist on the other end of?
I would take my beats around local rappers and like trap niggas and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I'd be in the weirdest places with folks. Like especially I didn't even know if they was rappers. If they look like a rapper, I'm giving them a CD with beats on it, like here. But that was just me wanting people to hear my shit. You know, it wasn't necessarily to make any money off of it. I just wanted people to hear my shit. So I would just send this shit to everybody, bro. And like, yo, if you know somebody that rap, let them hear it. Let them know we out here. And I came in my city, there wasn't that many producers. There's a lot of rappers, not that many producers. So I came in a period where producers were needed, like they needed us. So I saw how lucrative that shit could be, and I flooded the streets with CDs of beats. Ended up getting invited to a studio at one point on Two Notch Road. And there's a guy named Big PA. I probably tell this story like once a month, but he's the first person to ever like pay me for my beats for his artists. He wasn't a rapper, but he owned the studio and he had like a label. And he just needed legitimate beats and he needed them all the time. So he was like, bro, I don't got a lot of money to pay you. I was taking about $50 to $60 a beat. You know, this is before paperwork or anything. Like, here's $60 to even be able to rap on my shit. You know what I'm saying? And then they would do the paperwork stuff later. I didn't even understand the paperwork. They were still doing mixtape style shit. You know how that goes. Everybody wasn't getting paid. Some people were getting paid, not everybody. But yeah, I wasn't even concerned about the money, bro. I just was out there getting my shit to everybody. That's how I ended up on my first project. A lot of local rappers. Ended up getting some representative from, it was one of Gucci Mane's people. This is when he was locked up. I got somebody from his team. I got their email, and you know, one of my homies had told, this is maybe like a year down the road after I was making beats, and they were like, yo, you got to get into like email and A&Rs and stuff. You like, I know you want to physically pass out CDs and stuff, but we're entering into a new era as internet age. I'm like, all right, cool. So once I finally had the internet in my house, I would send beats to A&Rs and stuff, and that's how I ended up getting Thug. So through Gucci's people. Yeah, bro, I ain't gonna lie. It'd be a lot in between the segments and shit. I'll be saying a lot, but it leads to something. Like,
yeah, every time. Damn, that's crazy. So you went from physically passing out your beats, CDs, however you were doing it, to connecting with somebody in Gucci's camp. And then he gives you an amazing piece of advice, which is, hey, it's this new lane. You got to start sending stuff off, not just physically handing it off. And then from there, it ends up getting to Thug. That's crazy. Yeah, it's amazing how small it truly is, and how like just working pays off, because one thing always leads to another and leads to another and leads to another, and just kind of piling onto that momentum and different things like that. A lot of really successful producers, I'm kind of starting to notice a pattern, is building with those local artists kind of like around you in your area, in your city, or, you know, in a close by place where, you know, you might be in a smaller town, but you're getting in the car driving an hour away to Atlanta because you live on the outskirts of there, or from Orange County to LA or whatever. That's definitely got to be something that like builds up your skill set to becoming one of those guys, right? Just working with actual artists within like your area first, I would think, right?
Yeah, well, that's my favorite thing to do, because it gives you an opportunity to actually be a producer and not just a beat maker sending out beats. And being invited to the studio and being able to help develop these artists instead of just giving them beats and letting them do whatever, yeah, it helps you, it sharpens you as a producer, and it just gives you a chance to network, you know. And I feel like even today, even though I'm not the type of person that likes to be seen all the time, I feel like being seen is important. So being in the mix is just as important as the time you spend producing.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Producing is only one part of it, and then the business is so important, the networking is so important, just being seen and making sure people are aware of what you got going on. You could have the most incredible everything, but if nobody's really aware of what's going on, you know,
Hey,
it's like it didn't even happen in the first place.
that's
Um,
a fact. As much as I hate that, that is a fact. It is a
yeah,
fact, bro. Like, because if I could really do this, if I could sit in my house all day and do this shit from the crib and just send, which is honestly what I've been doing for the past like 6 months, is just really working from home, obviously because of COVID. But it's just something that I would continue to do.
I remember just wanted to be in the studio and in these crazy sessions so bad when I was younger and in middle school and high school days. And then you get there and a lot of times you hear the artist say the same line 9,000 times, just run it back, run it back, run it back, run it back. And also
That's another point. I'm sorry I brought up the dangerous part of it first, but like,
yeah,
you sometimes you go in there and don't even get no work done. Like, you just in there.
right.
But I feel like even just being there, even if something doesn't come from that, it's still good to have been there and be seen, and you might exchange a few numbers, you might meet some new people or whatever. A lot of times you gotta shoot the shot no matter what. Like, I'm sending beats to up and comers, I'm sending beats to the A&Rs, I'm sending beats to whoever, because it's gonna land something, you know. As long as the paperwork gets done right and I get paid and I like the song that comes from what my product was, you know, even if I spend 3 nights in the studio and the person barely does any work, but I built that relationship and they come back 2 weeks later with a song, which has happened to me a lot. You know, I've gone to the studio, we get nothing done. They leave with a bunch of beats, and then 2 weeks later we got a placement because they were in a different environment and felt it and was like, yo, pull that beat back up again, let me try something out. So yeah, I mean, it sucks, but it is what it is.
Most definitely. So you kind of take the networking approach. Your homies put you on to kind of like the internet wave of how to get noticed, get seen, send stuff around on the internet. What are some of like who are some of the first like real deal artists that you start locking in with, and how did it kind of go from there? I mean, you mentioned Thug, that was the first one, and where did it kind of go from there, that who you really started building with in those early days?
Knowing Thug is obviously the reason how I got to Drake, you know. So yeah, I'm grateful for every connection, because you never know where that shit gonna take you, bro.
Yeah, you never know who's gonna lead to what. I mean, kind of going through some of the major top tier artists that you've worked with. Thug's a good person to start with. I mean, going back to even like Thief in the Night, such a crazy staple song to his career and even to so many people our ages, like early years, teen years, etc. Like, how does a song like that end up coming together? What was the vibe like then?
I was still at the crib. Like, I had my songs with Thug, but I knew he needed something different. And I think one night I was just sitting in the living room. I remember making that beat too. I remember everywhere I was. Like, it was in my old house in Columbia. I was sitting in the living room and I was working on like trying to make piano chords, because I was trying to learn how to play keys. And then I figured out like how to layer the keys properly and stuff. And I ended up coming up with the piano melody for Thief in the Night randomly. Like, it wasn't even on purpose. Like, it was, these notes just happened to go together. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna loop this one part. And then I started playing around that dun 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 dun. You know that part, right? At the beginning.
Yeah.
So I added the chords for that right afterwards. And as soon as I heard the piano, I was like, bro, I know I got one, and I know exactly who this needs to go to. I just didn't know how I was gonna get it to Thug yet, because I wasn't living in Atlanta yet. I was still living in Columbia. I didn't want to have to go through that A&R stuff again. And I knew I had recently met C4, so like I sent it to C4 and was like, yo, bro, we gotta do something with this. So I think I was just blessed enough to always have a connection some way or another to what I was trying to do. That was really one of those like random ass this shit just kind of came together type moments. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Salute to C4. You always been one of the guys in the space, one of the guys that's always making it happen. He's always been a playmaker in the space, even from those early days.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
So I don't know what he's doing right now, but we need to get back to work.
Yeah. Shit, that's my guy. You mentioned Waka too. I just recently got to lock in with Waka. Man, what a smart guy. He's got so much going on, so much knowledge in different capacities. He's got some of the craziest ideas in the metaverse, NFT, crypto space. Man.
Really? Because he's part of the reason where I am right now. Like, I remember going to a session with him, and it's probably on. I probably got the footage still. I went to a session with him just to check in or whatever, drop off some beats, and motherfucking met Meek Mill and NBA YoungBoy there. That's the first time I ever met those two. They came in together. I think YoungBoy was still like very fresh, new signee type stuff. He came in and just like kind of stared at everybody and didn't say shit to nobody. Like he was on some shit. Meek Mill came in, he was all cool. He dapped everybody up. What's up? What's up? What's up? He was dope. But yeah, just even being around them niggas, man, like that shit brings plays. You know what I'm saying?
Every time. It's been watching the rise of YoungBoy has been insane. I mean, he's about to drop his Colors tape, here in just a bit, but man, I mean,
is it time for that?
Yeah, it's time for that. You make an appearance on AI YoungBoy, the original. Is that kind of how you and him ended up working, just from those sessions back then and being around?
That's literally how I got this shit going on with him right now. Like, yeah, it was that same night I was telling you about that I met Meek Mill, 30, his cousin, I think is his cousin, was in another room, and I ran in there. I was like, yo, I want to play you some beats for YoungBoy or whatever. He was like, yeah, play them. So I played him a bunch of beats. He took them home, and I think that's how that song, what was it, Trapping? Yeah, I think that's how Trapping came about.
Crazy. His rise has been insane to watch. Like, he's number 1 and number 2 trending on YouTube right now.
Every fucking time too.
It's a Disney Channel song that's number 3. Like, how are you beating Disney Channel? And he's not working with his label because the songs aren't on DSP, so he's just dropping by himself.
Oh, is that what's going on?
I mean, the songs aren't on DSPs, but they are on YouTube, which leads me to believe he's just posting them. Like,
damn. Okay, well,
which means he's not getting any sort of push, and it's just him, and he's still beating all this stuff.
Yeah,
definitely killing on YouTube. Kind of sticking with a lot of the producers you worked with in a lot of different ways. Tory Lanez is another artist who I feel like a lot of producers want to work with. Real like artist in every sense of the word. He just dropped his Alone at Prom project, which is like that 80s, even like Madonna-y type vibe to he's done rap and stuff. I mean, you had a club banger with him and Stupid Again, and it still is, of course. How did you end up working with him, and how did that song kind of come together?
My manager and him are cool because they're both from Toronto. Mm-hmm. So Nick Dean sent me a pack of samples. I just randomly happened to open them that day. So shout out to him because he's the one who did the strings, the melody for it. I started looping and playing with drums and stuff. Tory ran back in the room like I don't know what he was doing downstairs fucking around. He ran back in the room, was like, yo, that's it. We gotta finish that. So I looped it out long enough for him to be able to record to. And then over the next few days, we worked the record and shaped it until it was done.
So you really kind of like built the record with him, which I think is kind of something that's like lost in hip hop, especially like, a lot of times in R&B, they're like Building the song around the vocals and everything like that. But so it's probably,
which I love. That's what we in this shit for. Like, that's the creative part of it. I love this shit.
Yeah, man, club banger for sure. Club banger. But yeah, I mean, just sticking with kind of like the top tier heavy hitters, in the past couple of years, we've been blessed to hear so many really, really cool joint collab projects from, multiple artists. There's actually talks that like Future and Ye are doing something soon, which would be Absolutely.
That would
That's true. I can definitely not confirm that, but I've been seeing it on the internet and stuff. That's something that's going to happen. It's been crazy. Obviously Drake, who's been mentioned before, him and Future got some crazy stuff. Future's done stuff with Thug, Juice World, etc. You were obviously on one of the most highly anticipated collab ones, which was that Travis Scott and Quavo one with motorcycle patches. What was it like being a part of that project, and how did that kind of song come together and end up coming to fruition?
Man, that was shit, man. I gotta thank TM88 for that one too, bro. Like, I gotta thank TM88 for Mood. I gotta thank him for even being able to have a connection with Uzi, and that, if that's the case. But that record was like I was sending a bunch of unfinished beats to TM at the time, and I would just like take certain things. If I think I bought one of Frank Duke's packs, and I kind of cut up part of his sample, which was the weird ass melody that's in it. I just looped that shit, started like a basic minimum drum pattern, and sent it to TM because I figured I'm a fan of like seeing what other producers are gonna make out of like basic shit. So I knew that it could have a bounce to it, but I just didn't feel confident enough to make it. So I sent it to bro. I had no idea he was gonna actually try to place that record. So when it comes to that record, you definitely gotta talk to TM because all I know is I started a beat and it ended up on a Travis Scott song, and that was enough for me.
Yeah. Man, TM, one of the biggest goats in the space. Hopefully we get a chance to sit down and chop it up with him sometime too, because
I'm pretty sure you will. I'm pretty sure.
Man, he's had some of the craziest records the past couple months, years, to
Yes, bro.
however long ago, breaking records that really break artists to
EXO Tour Life is diamond, right? It went diamond, right?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think it did go diamond recently. He's got exactly like
there's nothing else to accomplish after that. You to go for real, like
yeah, you got to go double diamond.
Yeah, you got to, like to this day, that's still like one of my favorite producers. So like, I like how unique his drums sound. I like how he kind of pushes the sound forward with trying new shit. So it was just dope to even be able to spend time working with him on different projects, whether they actually got placed or not. I didn't care because I was like working. 808 Mafia as a whole is like a lot of us pattern our sound after that. So we gotta give credit where credit is due, bro. Like I ain't never scared to give like people who came before me the credit that they deserve. And really he was the playmaker on that record, man.
Yeah, every time. I think that's so important too. Everyone always loves to try to act like they did it all themselves and this and that, but you're not going to get too far trying to do everything yourself. And that's just kind of that's kind of like the fact of it. You mentioned TM88 kind of making that initial bridge to getting to work with Uzi and how that kind of started off. You and Uzi got too many crazy records that, a few of them I got to ask some specific questions on, but how did that actually happen in the very beginning when you ended up locking in with him?
Mood was the first song that I did with him. Another one courtesy of TM88. But I think the first time I've actually had like direct access to him is when he just hit me in my DM. Right after like he did the Myron snippet. Myron came because I sent a bunch of loops to Uzi. So I've never been afraid to like be a loop maker or a producer. Like I'll be the producer or I'll be the loop maker. I don't care. It's whatever gets the record done.
Yeah.
And sometimes when things are going slow for me as a producer, I'll take a step back and just spend weeks making just chord ideas and stuff like that. And I'll send them to guys who I know who are active at the time. So Oogie, me and him was already talking in DMs about working this shit. I wasn't about to just sit there and wait on him to send me shit. I was like, man, let me just get the ball rolling on this shit. So I sent him the melodies. Had no idea, once again, that, somebody had already gotten on the song or whatever. When I saw the snippet for it, I was just as surprised as everybody else. And I'm gonna be honest, those are my favorite moments in this shit is when I didn't know that somebody hopped on the record and I randomly see this shit on the internet. I love that shit.
Yeah. That's the best. everyone wants to have the secret information and be in the know so much, but you kind of robbed yourself of the joy of moments like that.
Yes, bro. I'm looking forward to more moments where it's like, and it just happened. Like Trippie Redd just dropped a song that I produced, had no idea it was coming out. So like that shit's cool to me. I don't be tripping about shit like that. But yeah. So after that snippet came out, that's when Uzi DM me and was like, "Yo, what's up?" Blah blah blah. I was like, "Bro, I can't believe this, man." I'm fanning out. Like it's rare that I do, but that was one of those moments where I was like, "Bro, are you serious right now? Like you hitting me like." And then I gave him my number. I didn't even ask him for his. I just gave him mine. I was like, "Yo, whenever you get a chance, hit me up. We got work to do." And yeah, I think that was during like the beginning stages of him recording EA or Eternal Take or whatever. So the timing was perfect for that shit. I flooded him in with so many beats. I'm probably the reason he changed his number. I sent so many beats. It was crazy.
You made two key points right there. One, which is like, it's okay to be excited and like fan out. Everyone's trying to always be like so cool all the time, but and also, you know, once you got the access, you're sending stuff through. Like you even jokingly, I'm the reason he changed his number. I was sending him so much, but I mean, speak to that a little bit too, because we had like TNT on here who's got unlimited rod wave, you know, placements, and he kind of spoke to like, yo, you might see me with 6-7 placements on a rod wave album. You don't understand that the past 12 months when he's been in album mode, I've sent him 1,300 beats.
Mm-hmm.
My landing percentage is small. I mean, speak to that, just staying consistent and kind of like sending stuff and, you know, using the access to the best of your ability.
Over the years, I've actually had to gauge it, and I gauge it based off of like the artist or what I feel like their response is going to be after the first few beats. Usually when I'm working with Atlanta artists, it's send me beats every day, send me beats every day. And then when I'm working with you know, like a more West Coast, I mean, it really don't matter the region. It kind of just matters the headspace. So like when I'm working with somebody who really likes to take their time and write, I send less beats because I know that they're gonna actually take one beat and focus a lot of attention on it, take time to write to it. And if you send in too many beats, like I can't send Drake a million beats because Drake isn't a person who's just gonna go in the studio and say anything, you know, or he's not the type of person that is just gonna come off the top freestyle. Like he's a conceptual writer. He's writing an album. You know, I have to send things that I know are gonna either push the sound forward or fit him, you know. And 9 times out of 10, somebody like me who is a normal Drake producer has to be somebody who's gonna push the sound forward and give him something that he doesn't already have, but would still fit him. So it's like doing surgery sometimes, bro. Like you just gotta know who you're dealing with. And you know, Uzi was that test for me. Uzi, I flooded because I didn't know better. But I did not realize, oh shit, dude might really want to take his time as well. You just never know. You gotta kind of test the waters. I say if you're gonna test the waters, send a good 10 and then wait a few days. You know, check back up, ask them if they feeling anything. If they ask for more, then you know it's okay to keep sending. You know, but yeah, I think it just varies from artist to artist.
Yeah, sticking with Uzi for a minute there. So, you know, it felt like it took forever for Eternal Atake to drop, and everybody was sitting back just waiting for it to drop, wanting it to drop so bad. I don't know. You obviously had a big single before that, which was That Way, which had one of the craziest sampled songs I haven't heard in the past however long, but just looking more towards that EA official release date and everything. I mean, did even you expect Myron to be on there? I mean, you end up making an appearance on there with Silly Watch no matter what on what EA initially was, but speak to that anticipation, just being somebody who was actually kind of like a part of that project.
I mean, Uzi's kind of closed off. Like if you're not in that room, if you're not sitting in that room, then you probably don't know what's going on, you know? And I was one of those people that weren't in the room. So, and to be honest, I'm a fan just as much as anybody else. I love that man's music. Like I listened to his music before I even got a chance to work with him. It was so different. The beats was crazy. I admire all the producers that he worked with before I ever got a chance to work with him. So for me, the anticipation was definitely high. Like I was like, man, when is this shit gonna come out? Not just because I'm on it, like I'm just ready for new Uzi music.
Definitely.
So,
and then
you know,
EA drops No Myron. I think a lot of people really wanted to hear some of those like snippets or whatever. He comes a week later and gives you like the deluxe, which is basically a whole fresh new album, features 21 Savage, Chief Keef, among others. What was it like when Myron finally initially releases? It's the first one on there, and it's just crazy.
It was dope. It was dope. We had the night before, we had to convince him to put it on there. I literally stayed up like all night trying to make sure that that mix was straight, and I'm in a hotel room trying to make sure that I get the stems and everything so I can give him the oogie and we can get the shit situated. But I didn't know it was gonna be number one on there. And I didn't know that he had a new verse on it until I heard the shit on Twitter. But just knowing that he was actually going to accept it and put it out was dope to me. And how I knew he was going to put it out was like, I just saw it on Twitter. It was like, hey, all you guys named Myron, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Some random shit, but it was like, I was like, oh yeah, he putting that shit on there. We good.
Too goated. That man is too goated. But yeah, I mean, you kind of spoke to something that was interesting earlier, which was just how like studio and in-person session etiquette has changed when it comes to, just COVID and the pandemic and everything like that. I mean, for you and just even like the producer space, like how has the pandemic and just being home more kind of like shifted your workflow or, just like the industry altogether, and how has it impacted you specifically?
Man, I don't know, man. I think being in the house that made me a psychopath. Being in the house, this shit is kind of boring, and like I try to make shit interesting. Like I just added a drum set to the studio, or I try to make this room feel more studio vibes by changing the lights and stuff like that, just to give myself like new motivation or inspiration or whatever. But on the flip side, on the good side, like I've been able to create so much, and I've been able to not only just make the cookie cutter shit, but I've been able to experiment and try new shit with music and like, get into R&B and all kinds of different shit. So the time that I get to spend alone creating is more valuable to me now.
Most definitely. Yeah, it's interesting. I as you say that, I gotta think that it's kind of like a common thing to just switch up your like studio vibe or the room that you're primarily working with, change things around. I don't hear too many people like speaking about that though. Is that a good way to just unlock some new like creativity and kind of get out of normal flows?
Yeah, for me, I don't know about everybody else, but it works for me. And like finding new plugins or finding new drums, like all that stuff brings inspiration for me.
Definitely. But yeah, you mentioned it a little bit earlier when we were speaking to kind of the initial connect to Thug and how Thug's the reason you have any sort of connect to Drake.
Yeah.
What was the first thing like? Like, what was the first connecting moment with Drake like, and how did you guys even start working? What was the first thing you worked on way back when?
Ice Melts was the first song that I did for Drake.
Bang.
Yeah, that's probably still my favorite song. Where was I? Oh yeah. I was at my friend's house. In he has like a guest house or whatever, and we was just cooking up that day. He left and went to the movies with his people, his family, and I was like, I'm gonna just stay and work. So Geoff, Thug's manager, hit me and was like, "Do you have anything that sounds like Wyclef? We want to try some new shit with Wyclef." I knew that Drake and Thug was already on tour together. I didn't know they were in the studio together. I just knew he was like letting Thug come on tour with him. But yeah, so I sent more beats that sounded like Wyclef, and then the Ice Melts beat ended up. It was actually a song for Thug. It was gonna be like Wyclef Part 2 type shit. But Drake ended up keeping certain parts from Thug's original song and then turning it into Ice Melts. I had no idea that it was Drake or that he was involved until maybe like a week later. Yeah, Bricks. So Bricks was on tour, engineering that project or whatever. And he was the one that told me Drake was on it. And I kind of already had a feeling it might happen because they was on tour. But when I found out that it was actually happening, I was blown away, bro. I was like, oh shit, this shit is happening. Like, it's crazy. definitely crazy moment.
Yeah, insane. And then, a lot of time passes as of recently until CLB finally came out. People were waiting on CLB and new Drake music for so long. Drake gives us what everyone kind of thinks is like the initial single and kind of like starting point to CLB with Laugh Now, Cry Later in the summer of 2021. And then, you don't really hear too much about new Drake music. He's always flooding and going crazy with the features. But then, he drops that little 3-pack off where he goes 1, 2, and 3 on the charts. And, What's Next comes out and just goes crazy. How did What's Next come about? I remember what was the inspiration for that beat? A lot of people kept saying on the internet it's so cool to hear Drake on a Playboi Carti type beat and all types of different stuff. But how did that come together and what was the inspiration behind it?
Man, shit, I'm gonna be honest. It was a Playboi Carti beat. I made this shit for Carti.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how I was gonna get it to Carti, but like usually when I make beats for rappers, I'll still send them to other artists that I can potentially hear on those records too, just in case I don't hear back. Drake definitely, I sent Drake pretty much everything. So that beat, I guess, stood out to him out of all the beats that I had sent that day. And like maybe 2 weeks later, he hit me and was like, yo, I just did a crazy record to this. I love this beat. This is probably one of my favorite beats that I've heard in this lane, like those type of beats. So I was like, all right, cool. It wasn't that special to me. You know what I'm saying? I love making beats like that, but I know what I can do in that lane. And that was just like maybe a practice run for that. So he hit me again just to make sure I didn't send it out no more. That's how I knew. I was like, all right, we definitely got one. And he likes this one a lot because he kept telling me not to. It's like, yo, bro, keep this in the tuck for me, bro. I'm definitely putting this out.
Most definitely. Yeah, and it ends up going one. I mean, what's the feeling like to be a Billboard Hot 100 #1 producer and not just one of many producers on an album going #1, which is a huge, amazing accomplishment in itself, but just the actual single. Like, what was that moment like when you finally saw that it was really going #1? And how are you?
I mean,
like,
that was my first real single. So that's the first time I've ever had a single on Billboard, period. So for me, just that alone was like crazy. But actually going #1 was really dope. I think it meant a lot that I did not understand at the time. And I think the people around me seemed more excited than me because I just wasn't in the moment yet. I think even right now, I'm still trying to, really understand what that shit means. Like, but I think for me, it's Drake. Drake he's gonna go #1. Like we know it's Drake. So I feel like, okay, I went #1, but I went #1 because it's fucking Drake. Like, what do you expect? But regardless, still very appreciative. And just what's more shocking to me, or what means more to me, is that this man would give me a shot to produce his music, period.
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't stop there. I'm sure you got stuff on the way. You're still working on new things, but there's more music with the two of you out even. You have an amazing track on CLB as well. One of the more standout tracks on there, I would say. Is that kind of made around the same time, or is the process for that a little bit different when you knew it was just album mode?
Yeah, actually that was one of the last additions to the project. But during the time that What's Next was happening and we were finishing that song, he was still asking for more beats. He was like, I know you got one more we can add on here. So, because I think I think he knew that he was going to do Scary Hours too at that point. And he knew that my song was going on there. So I still needed one for his album. So he never told me that, but I think he kept me in mind and was like, I got to include him on this album. I got to make sure he still makes the album. So he started asking me for more beats. I was sending crazy shit, but it just wasn't moving in the direction that he was moving as far as the album. So my manager, Skip, the same guy I was just telling you about, ended up playing a sample from somebody that's on our team. And immediately I was like, bro, we got to finish this. Like, this has to go. We got to figure out how to make Drake like this shit for real. like that sample. I felt a little weird about it because I felt like it was being a little disrespectful. But they played me like a audio recording of Drake, saying the shit was dope or whatever. And he ended up switching the song instead of it being about his son or whatever, some weird shit like that. He ended up making it about the rap game. So like the way he flipped the whole shit and made people like fuck with it was crazy to me. It's like 4 producers on this shit for real. Everybody played a part. I played a very minimal part. All I did was like help arrange the shit. I got everything, I was back and forth with Drake. How many bars you want in this shit? Do you want this shit to fade out? Blah, blah, blah. Doing the work with the engineers. But it was really my guy, Mark, who really put that record together because of the sample. Like the way he chopped that shit up, dude is amazing with chopping samples, bro. So I saw it as an opportunity to put the guys on. I already had what's next. So it's like, all right, if we make the album, we make it. But shit, really, this is a solidifying moment for the whole team.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's nothing like putting the people around you in positions to win too. Like the personal accomplishments are great, but that is rewarding on a whole nother level.
I mean, for me, it's a sign of a next step because like I don't want to just be making beats by myself forever. Like I want a production company. I want a group of guys that are loyal to what we're doing and we can just continue to make music and money together. Yeah, bro, like I think that was the start of that, and hopefully together we get more out of it. But shit, man.
Yeah.
A lot of shit going on.
Of course. And thinking of, potentially making moves to like that type of world and being in that type of space. We spoke on 808 Mafia a lot. Is there any other like teams or producer collectives that you look towards that you really like what they got going on and what they're doing?
Yeah, I'm gonna always be a fan of Internet Money. I love what Internet Money has done and what they continue to do. Internet Money and working on Dying, man. Like, and the guys. That's the guy.
Internet Money's crushing. Salute to all my Internet Money guys. Rio, Census, Spaceman, E-True, countless others, of course. Nick and Taz. Working on Dying too, keeps crushing. Shout out my man Finesse. Yeah. Running it on that side of things, just crushing every time. Drake working with such top tier established artists is amazing, but you always got your foot on the pulse too. It seems like with the hot up and coming guys. You got to work with Dolph a bit. What was working with Dolph? Like I feel like he's got such a unique and his own style. What was it like kind of working with him when you had the opportunity to?
Well, I worked again, that was a situation where I worked with other producers who were closer to him. So I never had to meet Young Dolph, but just to even be able to produce for him was I was extremely grateful for that. Definitely a Young Dolph fan. I'm from South Carolina. We definitely listen to Young Dolph. So it was just, it was one of those moments where I was like, okay, I finally got to work with a legend, and for me, a lot of my career has been me being able to work with people who I grew up listening to. So that's crazy for me. Like I grew up listening to Dolph, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not surprised that it happened because I had been making so many beats that was ready for that man. But I'm grateful that happened as well. And Key Glock, like I do work with Key Glock too, and shit, he the future. So we're gonna keep that shit going, period.
Yeah. Keeping it going. And yeah, there's a lot of artists that you've been able to work with and that kind of thing. Another one that was interesting was Russ. You got stuff that's out with Russ. I'm sure you got stuff on the way with Russ, stuff that, completed songs that who knows if or when they'll come out just like any other artist. But Russ is somebody who produces a lot for himself and doesn't really collaborate with too many other people, right, artist or producer wise. And he just dropped his Chomp album, which has a lot of Just Blaze and super established top tier producers like that on there. What's the process like working with someone like Russ? I mean, it's got to be at least different than everybody else, I'd imagine.
I mean, he's like, I think the relationship with Russ started because I everybody was going against the grain, talking shit about Russ for saying something about producers or whatever. And producers were like, oh, I ain't fucking with him, blah, blah, blah. I'm never going to be the nigga that follows the trend. I don't give a fuck what y'all talking about. I fuck with Russ. And that's what I wrote on Twitter. Somehow he saw that. I didn't even know this man knew who I was. You know what I'm saying? But luckily, because I know Milan and because Milan knows my people and shit, I guess Milan was like, that's Mario. You know what I'm saying? So he liked it. He liked the Twitter, the tweet or whatever. I don't know how I actually initially got his number or whatever, but he let me send him beats. And I think he started to realize that I was a real producer. Like I can make anything. Like, you know, I was sending him all styles of music. And I think he was just open to working with me because I wasn't stuck on one sound. You know, I mean, honestly, I don't know. I'm just giving you what I think is the case, but you know, I don't know. I think we make good music together, and I respect what he does tremendously. Like I love what he's doing. And for somebody to be able to produce and still allow me to produce for them, I think says a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, like I said, you keep your foot on the pulse with just the up and coming artists and who you want to work with. I'm sure you are selective, but I mean, you got hits at this point with, you know, Lotto, BK the Ruler, countless other artists on the rise. Like, what's something that you kind of like look for in artists that you kind of like hand select as they're on the come up that you want to work with?
I mean, first of all, I look for hustle, I look for passion, and I look for if that person is really willing to work, you know, and how that person works. And I'm not super selective when it comes to artists. I still think like when I first started making beats is get this shit to as many people as possible and see who bites. I'm still fishing, you know. I shoot my shots and hope they land. And if somebody likes my sound and you know, and I like what they do on my beats, and we start to build a relationship from that. We start off with that.
January 2022, now here, you know, always a good time to kind of like think about the rest of the year, plotting ideas, things. You know, what do you got, you know, on the way that you're excited about? What have you been working on? What's some of the 2022 goals, you know, for Mario at this point? And, you know, what are you excited about that's coming your way this year?
Man, I'm hoping for a year like last year. Hopefully, they take me as serious as they took me last year. And hopefully we get a number one. You know, I get a number one, a couple number ones with whoever I'm working with. I'm excited, you know, I'm excited to be able to work with artists who I really like right now. Recently got the opportunity to do a song with Playboi Carti, so I'm hoping that drops.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Carti fan. Like I've been on the Uzi wave and the Carti wave. You know what I'm saying? Like I hate to say it, like I don't mean no hype beat shit by this, but like when it takes me a while to gravitate to people's music, but once I like hear something I fuck with, I'm definitely gonna try to work with them. Mm-hmm. And I've been trying to work with Carti for a while, so hopefully we got something.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. You know, I always got my ear down in the internet trying to hear and figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
What you know, what's up with the Carti stuff, man? People are waiting on that Mario Carti. Hopefully it's coming real soon.
Man, hey, I hope so. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I've never been in the studio with Carti. Like I've only been able to send beats, and I just heard back. I was like, yo, he got on this beat. And it's one of my favorite beats. So if he got on this particular beat and it's the beat I know was meant for him, shit's out of here, bro. This shit is out of here. It's you know, I'm never gonna try to like pattern my sound after what they're already doing. So like it's not typical whole lot of red type shit. You know what I'm saying? That's all I can say is that particular beat is not no whole lot of red type shit.
Definitely.
This is old Carti type shit.
Oh yeah. Like I said, we appreciate it so much. The producer room, powered by producer culture, got the big go in the building, giving us too many gems, so much good information. I mean, in closing, I would just ask, like, your journey to this point. There's been so many twists and turns and so many lessons along the way. I mean, what's kind of something that you would give as kind of like a piece of advice to up and coming producers who are still in that position that you were early on, or, you know, and thinking about it a different way, just like some of the key things you picked up along the way that, you know, maybe you wish you knew back then that you had to wait till now to kind of like, you know, gain that information?
Um, one of the biggest things is do not be afraid to work with artists in the early stages of their career. Just because somebody hasn't popped off yet, don't mean they're not going to. You know, especially if it's somebody that you know and you believe in, and y'all been working together for a while. Ride the train. Make sure that they, you know, they have the support system that they need, and that you're working as hard as you can to make sure that they have a sound that they need. While still trying to get placements, while still trying to make money and sell beats. I think it's important to be around other producers and to spend time in that producer realm and study like you in college. You know, figure out what's going on out here. They call, like, all my young homies call me the old head, and pretty much I am at this point. I'm 32 years old. You know what I'm saying? I came in this shit with Thug now, but I still work with 16, 17-year-old rappers who just now coming in the game. And I keep my ear to the streets. I know what's going on. I might not be out there. I might not go to every show. I might not be in a mix like that, but I know who's doing what, you know? So I think it's important to keep your ear to the streets. I log in and listen on SoundCloud every day. You know, I look on YouTube to see what the videos are looking like nowadays. I listen to these beats to see what 808s they use. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Gotta just stay ahead of the game.
Yeah. Never stop studying. But like I said, we appreciate it so much. The Producer Room, powered by Producer Culture. Everyone make sure they like, comment, subscribe, comment who you want to see next. And say, like Mario, you just might get it. One of the most heavily anticipated, requested ones. But like I said, we appreciate it so much, man. And
I appreciate y'all, man, for real.
Hell yeah.
We're gonna talk soon, bro.
Definitely.